What if I told you that Lewis Hamilton just revealed something at Monza that could completely change the course of Ferrari in 2026, but that almost no one has really understood? Because what happened in those private tests was not a simple day of testing. It was the moment when Ferrari decided to break with everything that was not working. And the most shocking thing is not only that they have modified half the car, but Hamilton's reaction when he got off the SF26. For the first time, the sensations were not adaptation. They were total control. This changes everything. Because when a driver like Hamilton begins to feel that the car responds exactly as he needs, it means that Ferrari has found something it had been desperately searching for years: real consistency in the car's behavior. But here comes the strongest part. This change comes just before Miami, on a weekend where there will hardly be room to try anything. That is to say, what they have discovered at Monza could appear on the track without prior notice, and directly hit all their rivals. The big question is inevitable. Are we about to see the beginning of Ferrari's true dominance? Or is all this an illusion that can collapse as soon as they get to the race? Because what Hamilton has hinted at is not normal. It all starts with an uncomfortable reality that Ferrari could no longer ignore. The SF26 was not up to par. Despite some occasional flashes, the car had shown a constant weakness that was limiting both Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, especially in something critical in modern Formula One: consistency. It was not just a question of pure speed, but of unpredictable behavior, of not knowing exactly how the car was going to react in each corner, in each change of direction, in each phase of the race. And that, in such a tight championship, destroys you. Since the beginning of the season, clear signs of this problem had already been seen. Hamilton, in his initial adaptation, was forced to modify his driving style to get closer to what the car allowed him to do, something completely contrary to what a driver of his level needs to make real differences. It was not a Ferrari made to attack. It was a Ferrari that forced you to survive. And meanwhile, rivals like McLaren or Mercedes were beginning to build an advantage based precisely on what Ferrari did not have: stability and confidence. It is in this context where Ferrari makes a radical decision. We are not talking about a progressive evolution. We are not talking about small weekend adjustments. We are talking about a total change of direction. The Monza test was not a simple shakedown or another day of filming. It was the laboratory where the team put a completely different version of the SF26 on the track, with a transformation so profound that it reaches approximately 50% of the car. This is not evolution. This is practically another car. And this is where the most determining factor in this entire process comes in: Hamilton. Because beyond the data, beyond the telemetry, there is something that remains key in Formula One: the driver's sensations. And what he begins to perceive in Monza completely changes the narrative. For the first time, the car stops being a limitation and begins to become a tool. It is no longer about constantly correcting the behavior of the car, but about taking advantage of it. This change in sensations is more important than it seems. Because when a driver regains confidence, not only does his performance improve, he also changes his way of attacking the corners, of managing the tires, of taking risks in qualifying. It's a domino effect that completely transforms the car's potential on track. And that is exactly what Ferrari had been searching for some time without success. But there is one detail that makes all of this even more critical: timing. These improvements come just before Miami, a sprint format weekend where there will barely be a free practice session. This means that what Ferrari has tested at Monza will have practically no room for correction on the track. Either it works, or they are completely exposed in front of everyone. And this is where the real tension of this story is built. Because Ferrari has not only bet big, it has bet everything. They have decided to change the rules of their own game in the middle of the season, trusting that what Hamilton felt in Monza is not an illusion, but the beginning of something much bigger. But if Lewis Hamilton made something clear after getting out of the car at Monza, it is that the change not only exists, but is much deeper than anyone expected. And this is where everything gets really interesting, because when we analyze in detail what Ferrari put on the track, we begin to understand why their words have generated such an impact within the paddock. The SF26 that rolled at Monza was not a simple evolution. It was a complete reinterpretation of the car's aerodynamic and mechanical concept. Ferrari directly attacked the problem that was doing it the most damage: the lack of predictability. During the first races, the car could be fast at specific moments, but it was unable to maintain that performance consistently, something that forced the drivers to drive with a kind of constant safety margin. And in Formula One, that margin is exactly what makes you lose tenths in each corner. With this new package, what Hamilton is starting to notice is a radical change in how the car generates downforce, especially when cornering. The introduction of a new front wing and a completely revised floor not only aim for more load, but a much more stable load, less sensitive to changes in height or track conditions. And this is key because it means that the car stops betraying the driver in extreme situations. But there is one element that perfectly sums up Ferrari's level of ambition: the return of the so-called Macarena wing, now in a much more refined version. This concept is not just a technical curiosity, it is an aggressive commitment to improving aerodynamic efficiency, reducing straight-line resistance without compromising cornering stability. In other words, Ferrari is trying to solve one of the most complex dilemmas in modern Formula One, and do it in the middle of the season. And this is where Hamilton's sensations become even more valuable, because it's not just that the car is faster, but that it now allows you to explore its real limits. This completely changes the way a driver approaches a qualifying lap or a long stint in the race. There are no longer doubts, there are no more constant corrections. There is trust. And when Hamilton is confident, the level he can reach is something the rest of the field knows very well. However, this whole scenario has a B side that cannot be ignored, because such a big change also involves enormous risk. Ferrari has modified practically half of the car in a single move, which means that any error in correlation, any failure to understand aerodynamic behavior, can translate into disaster on the track. There is no room for progressive adjustments. This is all or nothing. In addition, there is a strategic factor that adds even more pressure: lack of time. With the sprint format in Miami, Ferrari will have no real room to experiment or correct problems. What they have tested at Monza is, practically, what we will see directly in race conditions. This makes those test laps one of the most decisive moments of the entire season, and that is why what Hamilton reveals is so shocking. Because he's not reacting to one more improvement. He's reacting to a car that, for the first time, seems to align with what he needs to compete at the highest level. And this is where everything converges. Because what Lewis Hamilton has shown after Monza is not just a technical improvement, it is a direct warning to the rest of the grid. If everything that Ferrari has tried works as they hope, what we are going to see from Miami will not be a simple evolution. It will be a change in hierarchy. Because this new SF26 isn't just designed to close the gap, it's designed to attack. And when a team like Ferrari decides to remake 50% of its car in the middle of the season, it doesn't do it to be second. It does it because it believes it can win. Hamilton knows it. And that is why your feelings have so much weight. Because he's been here before, he's experienced moments where a car goes from being limited to becoming dominant. And what it transmits now is not a coincidence. It is that feeling before something big happens. That confidence that does not appear if the car does not really respond. But this is where the deciding factor comes in, the reality of the track. Because everything that Ferrari has built at Monza is now going to face the harshest possible trial. A sprint weekend with no margin for error, no time to correct, no room to hide weaknesses. What we see in Miami will be the purest version of this new Ferrari. And that changes absolutely everything. The car responds. Ferrari can go from pursuer to protagonist in a matter of days. If it fails, there will be no excuses because they have bet everything on this concept. This is where this story is really defined. Not in the data, not in the simulations, but in the execution. Because in Formula One, the one who promises the most does not win. The one who converts those promises into real performance wins. And the tension is maximum because the stage is perfectly prepared. A completely transformed car. A pilot who begins to recover feelings of mastery. And a championship that can revolve in a single weekend. The big question is no longer technical. It is historical. Are we about to witness the beginning of a new era for Ferrari, driven by what Hamilton felt at Monza? What Lewis Hamilton revealed after the Monza tests is not just a good feeling, it is not a specific improvement. It is the first real sign that Ferrari could have finally found the right direction. Because after so many failed attempts, fast but unpredictable cars, weekends where potential never translated into results. Now there is something different. Something that cannot be measured with data alone, but that changes everything in Formula One. Trust. Ferrari has bet everything on a single move. He has redesigned his car in the middle of the season, he has taken risks without a safety net, and he has put in Hamilton's hands a tool that, for the first time, seems to be aligned with what he needs to make a difference. And that is what really shocks everyone. But this story is not yet written. Because now comes the moment of truth. The track does not understand promises, it does not understand sensations, it does not understand expectations. He only understands performance. And everything that Ferrari has quietly built at Monza is about to be exposed to the entire world, with no margin for error, no excuses, no second chances. If it works, We will not only see a competitive Ferrari, we will see a Hamilton capable of changing the course of the championship. If it doesn't work, we will be facing one of the biggest risks the team has taken in years. And that is why this moment is so important. Because we're not just talking about improvements, we are talking about a possible turning point in Formula One. Now tell me, do you think that what Hamilton felt in Monza is the beginning of something historic, or the beginning of a new disappointment for Ferrari? Let me know in the comments what you think about all this.